Alright, well, is that it? I guess it. Greetings, fellow shopkeeps. Welcome back to Recettear. Back, right? Uh, yeah, I've played this before. You have to go pretty far back on my channel to find the footage of it, but it exists. So for that reason, I'm not really going to introduce it, and really I'm not going to do a ton of talking, because what I want to do... Well, I didn't really want to do this, honestly. I was going to do what I've been doing for the past several weeks, which is working on a new video game. Developing, designing, coding, whatever you want to call it. How much am I in the way? I'm pretty in the way. We're just gonna see. I mean, no one cares, also. There's also that caveat that, like, no one's really concerned with my faces. Over the video game footage, this game is... I mean, it's in 1080p, but I don't even know if it's... Like, who knows? I'm gonna drop these down. The game's pretty loud, so I have had plenty of, like, I've done a lot of effort to play with the audio. There was several recordings. Anyway, if you do or don't know about the game, this is a game where you run an item store. Which, you know, I played Dave the Diver, and that was good times. But I ran out of it, you know. Dave the Diver, there's only so much of it. Like all video games, and I think they're patching more DLC, even story DLC into it in the very near future, but, you know, I gotta play something. I don't have to, but I'm playing a lot more video games now. It's back on my mind. It's back what I want to do with my time. So, what's happening is, you know, I'm finding out that these store simulators, these games where you run a storefront, or you do anything involving, like, commerce or whatever, they really speak to me. Dave the Diver opened it up because you run the sushi restaurant in that one, but this game, you know, this was an older game I played before that, you know, the core mechanics of this thing is a dungeon crawler, right? Like, you get to run through these dungeons, and I mean, the dungeons do get fairly elaborate. The game takes a very long time to introduce it to you, because I'm assuming, you know, grinding was, well, I don't know how much, I don't know how much design this game got. I got the impression when I looked into it, and the fact that it disappeared and never got a sequel, never came back, anything, that it was pretty hastily thrown together. But that being said, they did a great job. So, what it does have is it has a ton of content for you to grind through, and that's exactly what I need in my life right now, because what I'm spending most of my brain cells on is this new game idea. And I'm not the kind of person who normally keeps secrets, especially when I'm recording. But I gotta keep it this time, if only because I'm afraid I might get sued. Maybe not sued, but I want to finish the game. And not that I'm, like, popular or prominent or anything, but I don't want to take any risks of any of the parties involved, because it's not an original game, right? I'm remaking a game from about 20 years ago, so pretty wide pool to pick from. I don't know why my throat isn't working tonight. I guess because we're out of practice. But again, want to make sure I finish the game. There's a lot of companies who got skin in the game, so to speak, and I don't want any of them to send me a cease and desist. When all I have to show for my efforts is like a tiny, you know, like snippet of what I ultimately wanted to accomplish, because this is a game I've tried to make/remake about 5 times now in different technologies on different platforms over the years. And I am finally close to doing it when I started working on Shelter, which, hey, did you know the link to Shelter is in the video, like every single video I post? It's not in every short, because YouTube sucks, but I guess I need to work on that since all I'm posting these days are shorts. Anyways, you know, Shelter's up. You can play it. You can download it. Great. It's not done. It's the alpha version. It was just like proof of concept. I can do this thing in Godot. Anyway, once I got that done, what happened in my brain was I was like, wait. Instead of spending all day, every day, torturing ourselves, like just like busting our head wide open trying to make a game from scratch, why don't we do one of these great game ideas that we've already had, you know, like kind of like largely cooked up in our head? Because we have all this skill with the Godot engine now, and we can certainly make it happen anyway. It was about that time. You know, I mean, I was working with this funny. Logan is playing the PlayStation 5 in the other room, which is part of the reason why I'm actually recording tonight instead of just letting it slide. But he's playing Sea of Thieves, I believe is the name of the game, and he had to link up my Xbox account to it. I guess Sea of Thieves is probably coming too. I don't know what the account situation is, but I imagine I'll probably play it eventually, and I'll probably record it because I'd never seen it, but Logan got it for Christmas, so it's part of our lives now. Anyway, I keep getting notifications on my phone, i.e. camera, that I'm getting achievements in the other room, which is pretty funny. Anyway, the game I'm making, you know, it's gonna happen this time. I'm gonna do it in Godot. I'm gonna use all the skills I got from Shelter. I'm actually finishing it. And then once I finish it, I'm gonna go back to Shelter. And I got plans, but what happened was I needed something to play. You know, I needed something to do. You know, even just like on a personal, domestic level, I just like needed something to do. And so I was going through my game catalog, right? And there's a lot of big games that I do want to play, and I have like a lot of, but like I was either recording them, or like it's not convenient for me to play them right now because, like I said, my PlayStation's in the other room now, and like a mouse and keyboard situation, blah blah blah. YouTuber complaints. Anyway, this is what I landed on, this Recettear game, because I stopped playing it forever ago, and back in those days I had a really crappy computer. Now I got the Steam Deck, and, you know, to say nothing of the fact that this now, like, 10 years of computer technology development later, so it's probably going to be hard to find a machine that can't run this that's semi-current. You know, Steam Deck just does a great job with certain games, especially games of this nature, and that was, like, it stuck with me, right? I was like, oh my god, this is a really great idea. Why haven't more people done this? And I realized a ton of people have. There's, Binding of Isaac, there's a bunch of others. Yeah, the cursor's on the screen. You know, I guess you could say I'm out of practice, but that's Dalsum. That is actually Dalsum. That is a yoga teleport icon. Again, I don't know who made the game, because the game was made by a very obscure developer, Dojin developer, in Japan, I think for their equivalent of a game jam, right? Like they did it super fast, in a hurry, just kind of to prove a point. Anyway, that game wasn't super popular, you know, it just kind of disappeared into the Japanese ether of, like, you know, dungeon crawler RPG, 2D overhead things. But somebody went and made a pretty amazing translation of it in the US, or at least, you know, in English. And it picked up speed because of that in the English speech. I mean, maybe the Japanese players even liked it, you know, the English translations too, but point is, that's when I caught wind of it, or at least someone who told, you know, a friend of mine caught wind of it and told me to play it, so I dropped it back then because the computer sucked, but now we're actually running through it and it's been going pretty well. But I'm about on the precipice, so, like, the premise of the game is that you run the item store, and you have to go into the dungeon to get the items, right? And maybe not to get the items, but, like, you go into the dungeon to get items, and, like, you can kill every enemy in here, and there's definitely loot tables. They have rare drops and serious drops, which is why I'm only focusing on some of them. Because at this point I've beaten the game. The game is like paying off your debt, right? And again, watch the first 1, 2, 3 episodes of the series if you want to get the narration, because my god, does this game have not a narration, and you have to go through it a lot. It's one of the types of games where, like, you have to repeat the intro over and over again every time you sort of fail going through it. Anyway, you get really sick of the introduction of all these characters and all these dungeons and even some of the gameplay mechanics that the characters just force you to talk through. And I've done it. Well, you can tell on the saving screen, actually. You know, like I'm on, and can you see? Yeah, I don't think there's anything really over there. That I'm on loop number 3. That means basically I blew it 2 times before I finally successfully paid my rent. Sore subject. Anyway, so now what I'm doing is just grinding out the game, right? And, like, I didn't really care about sharing the narrative with the world because it's a pretty silly play. I mean, like, for starters, the game is peanuts now, so you could definitely get a copy of it yourself if you like this. And honestly, I recommend it. You know, if you need a time killer, the story element is fun, but the dungeon crawling is expansive. You know, like you don't get that impression because it looks kind of jank, and it runs kind of jank, and everything happens kind of jank. But once you run through it a couple of times, you like get a scale of just how much stuff there is, you know? And I'm at the point now, you know, you have a bunch of adventurers you recruit to go through the dungeons for you because the brown-headed girl on the ferry, that's Recettear. They never do any fighting, so they have to hire people to go into the dungeons anyway. The kid here, the mage, because they're all different classes and they all have different weapon types, blah, blah, blah. The kid sucks. He's the biggest, you know, just like, you know, like, you're going to lose with him. A lot. And mine is like level 31 now. Can you see that? Yeah, like underneath class magician, level 31. He's still like, look at him. And this is the first dungeon. This is like, well, maybe not the first, but this is the first real dungeon that, you know, you can clear. Basically, you hit like level 10 or so, you can make it through this thing without getting too torched. This kid, you can still get one-shotted by bosses. Well, going on anyway, now we're at the point where all the other adventurers are strong enough to run the other dungeons for me. But I still, you know, I have kind of this nagging personality failure where what I do is I play the character. Like, I gotta keep everybody up to, you know, like if the game has 10 playable characters, I'm going to try and use all 10 of them. I'm going to try and find out what their strengths and weaknesses are, especially in an environment like this where, like, you are going to have to grind over and over again on the same thing. So, you know, if you saw on the selection screen, I don't know where I was on the screen, he's the worst. He's by far the worst of my collection of characters because he sucks and you don't want to kill. Like, this is his swing. He can't move. And again, it may not seem like too bad, but, like, when you see in comparison to the kind of destructive capabilities the others have. Now his perks are, he has these spells, right? And the spells are pretty powerful. Like the explosion, you know, at this level can kill pretty much anything in one shot. He's got this thing, which is pretty sick. If you can space it right, you know, like, and then that stays and that does damage for a little while. Let me see if I can, like, get it on somebody. It's helpful, you know, like if you, well, so like sometimes the trap thing will go off and you get a bunch of here. Let me get these two. Oh, he walked by it. There we go. Got you. Yeah, see, he walked into it because the enemies are very dumb. At least at this stage. Some of the later ones are dumb. And then this one here, which you already saw a little bit, oh god, is the boss killer. Because you can just, like, hold the button, and he just keeps shooting until you run out of MP, which, you know, even when they're in the very beginning, you're only doing, like, 1 damage a pop. You know, you pelt the boss with enough of those, they go away. This thing is cool, but expensive for the utility. You know, you get these cool ghosty things that follow you around. And then the most recent one I unlocked is the yoga teleport, which, like, it's hilarious that it uses a Dalsum sprite. All those sprites down there are kind of the same across them, and I get the feeling that, like, maybe they were ripped from whatever game the developer had made before. Oh, I didn't know it lasted this long. I'll use it more often if it's going to last forever. I thought maybe it would drain my MP. He's the only character that gets SP, sorry, not MP, by hitting, by using his attack, and he's the only one who has, like, that. But he's got to stand still, and he's got to do this, right? And it's just not worth it. He is not a good mage build in this game, compared to the way all the other characters work. But he is an addition to the collab. And again, part of the whole reason for having these characters is to, like, have different item types and things to sell. So this has just been the Jadeway dungeon. I just wanted to run through it on camera. Cool, I could say I did it because the previous recording I went through the Hall of Trials. So next what we're going to do, this part may not be as exciting, but we'll see. I keep right mouse cursor. Yeah, I'm not in front of the time. You can see that. Yeah, this action will not. Yeah. So the town has different areas, and each area does different stuff. The Adventurers Guild is where you do the thing. No one cares. I just got to buy some things real fast, and you guys don't need to pay too much attention to this. I might even edit it out, but maybe someone wants to see the items. I'm not even covering them, so that's fine. As you can see from the amount of money I have up there now, I don't really need to sweat it. to get through the plot, you have to make an incredible amount of money. Like, I imagine I probably did it pretty, like, doing it on 3 was probably a lot. I assume most people probably make it to loop 4 or 5 before they finally actually clear it, if only because that's how long it takes the stuff you can do for profit to balance out with what you want to do for profit. Like the items you can buy don't unlock for the right amount of money, etc., etc. The things you can fuse together for more money, blah, blah, blah. But once you pass a certain threshold, financially speaking, all you really have to do is just, like, buy the right items and keep them on stock, and then, like, when people come in and ask for something, make sure you sell them the super expensive things, because they don't care, you know, like, there's a little bit of disparity between what the customers do and don't want. Some of them, you know, like the adventurers are like flat broke, so like they'll come in and be like, hey, I want something really expensive, but you know, like it's yours is expensive. But they won't be willing to pay like a real price for it. And then you just kind of got to take it on the chin financially because you want your adventure, like that's how they get equipped. They have to come into the store and buy the stuff from you. So even if they don't want to pay like full price, you might want to just like give it to them basically for free, because then the next time they go in the dungeon, they have it in their inventory and you don't have to spare an item slot because you can only carry so many items through the dungeon. Okay, so I can make an adventure close and that costs fur balls. Like I said, this is not super duper interesting, but this is the game I'm actually playing now. So I'm going to make a rocket glove. Can we? Champion? Yeah. No. What are we out of? Oh, red oil. Okay, sorry. My bad. But that's the point, right? Is that even at this point, when I've like advanced to, I'm also pretty sure I'm on the cusp of beating the game. Like that was the first dungeon, but I've unlocked the last dungeon. I think I'm even on the last floor. So my kind of idea behind this recording was like freeing myself up to do whatever I want on my personal time. Now that I've got the recording out of the way. Anyway, none of this is right. I'm just gonna go run the store real fast. And then we'll call it a flibbity floppity floop. And I will have recorded my first video in forever. Like I said, I've been working on a game, and you know, we've talked about the way my brain crisscrosses wires when I'm working on a game. It's hard to play video games, like record, do all this. I mean, you get it. You got a life, a lot of stuff going on. Too much going on these days. Anywho, yeah, right, like from the last recording, I was still like level 1 store. This is like level 4 store, and like I've unlocked customizations now, so I can like change the way the store actually looks. I'll just go ahead and change it up since you guys are watching. Slowly unlocking everything, right? So I don't necessarily, you know, like I didn't buy any of this during the main campaign because you had to save so much money. But now that I'm like doing it, it's like, all right, well let's play around with, you know, some of this stuff. And then, yeah, once you got it nice and locked and loaded and stocked and stowed, you just run it. So, I'm looking at the recording just to make sure I'm not in the way. Help you with anything? I'm present shopping. I could really use some clothes. Alright, so, he says he wants some clothes, but, so you can give him anything that qualifies as clothes, which, like, clothes is an easy heading, but sometimes it's tricky. Anyway, man is not someone who cares, but, you know, that's the point. This hoodie that I bought, even at 100% base price, is already like a couple $1,000s of profit. So if you do successfully like get any more money on top of it, that's just like more money. And once you get the mo money going, then it's like, well, then you just go buy another one, right? So, and the cycle repeats until you're, you know, sick of it. But this is how you advance the plot too, right? Like your guys, right? So he wants to come in here and get the, oh, okay, he can't equip that. If he could equip that, it would pop the stats up and it would tell you like, oh, he might be broke. Sometimes he's broke, Luis. They said they all have their own personalities and kind of plots going on. There's like cinema scenes you can see where they talk. It's a big game. It's a big fun game. Which is why, like, this dude is always broke. And I've also noticed that sometimes, like, they'll take it if you don't haggle, but the second you try to haggle, change the price in any way, that's when they'll be like, ah, what are you doing? Even if you, like, go down, they'll be like, what? Because then they'll want you to go way down. But if you left it alone, it'll be fine. So most of the time, if you don't need the profit, just, like, sell it. Because, again, you always make some money on top. Alright, the price of sweets has decreased. The price of shields has normalized. People with tabs should pay them back immediately. The pub owner. Alright. So, this is a shorty, but I didn't realize how short the game was gonna be. I saved it twice. Shoutouts to you for watching. Flippity floppity floop.